In 1953, this company did not build phones, it did not build screens, it didn't even build technology. It was building survival, and today, it quietly controls the devices you touch, the screens you stare into, and the silicon that decides how fast your world moves. How does a company born from hunger become one of the most disciplined empires on Earth? And more importantly, what kind of human cost does it take to never allow yourself to lose? This is not a story about innovation. It's not a story about creativity. This is a story about endurance, about obedience, about what happens when failure is not an option, because going back is worse than moving forward. This is the origin of Samsung. To understand Samsung, you first have to understand where it was born. Korea in the early 20th century was not a land of opportunity. It was occupied, exploited, stripped of identity. By the time the Korean War ended, the country was shattered, cities reduced to rubble, families torn apart, and an entire generation raised on scarcity. No capital, no trust, no safety net. When you grow up like this, you don't dream of disruption, you dream of stability. And stability comes from control. Samsung did not start as a tech vision. It started as a reaction to humiliation, to watching foreign companies dominate local lives, to never wanting to rely on outsiders again. Its founder believed something simple. If your survival depends on others, you are already weak. So Samsung didn't chase ideas. It chased self-sufficiency, food, textiles, trading, anything that could keep the system alive. This wasn't passion. It was fear, carefully organized into discipline. Here's something most people misunderstand. Scarcity doesn't make you creative. It makes you cautious. When resources are limited, you don't ask, "What do I want to build?" You ask, "What cannot be allowed to fail?" Samsung's early DNA was shaped by that question. Mistakes were not lessons, they were threats. And that single belief, that failure must be eliminated, would later become its greatest strength and its darkest flaw. As Korea rebuilt, Samsung noticed something critical. The future wouldn't be won by ideas alone. It would be won by scale. The world was entering an era where whoever could produce more, faster, cheaper, would dominate. So Samsung made a choice, not to be the best, but to be everywhere. Electronics weren't chosen because they were beautiful. They were chosen because they could be multiplied. Factories replaced dreams. Process replaced personality. Samsung wasn't becoming a brand. It was becoming a machine. But machines have rules. They demand obedience. They reward conformity. They punish hesitation. At Samsung, speed mattered more than comfort. Execution mattered more than voice. You didn't argue with the system. You became part of it. And slowly, quietly, Samsung began to trade individuality for invincibility. Most people didn't notice, because when a company wins, we rarely ask how. By the time the world started paying attention, Samsung had already made its choice. It would never rely on inspiration. It would rely on discipline. And soon, that discipline would be tested against a very different philosophy. A company built on belief, on emotion, on design. Because when survival meets creativity, only one is allowed to define the future. And that collision is where Samsung truly begins. By the late 1990s, the world was changing faster than anyone expected. Technology was no longer invisible. It was becoming personal. Computers moved from offices to bedrooms. Electronics moved from factories to pockets. And for the first time, people didn't just want devices that worked. They wanted devices that felt like something. Samsung noticed this shift. but it didn't fully understand it, because emotion was not how Samsung was built. On one side of the world, a company was asking a dangerous question: what should technology feel like? That company believed design could create meaning, that aesthetics could create loyalty, that emotion could create obedience. On the other side, Samsung asked a very different question: how fast can we build it? How cheap can we scale it? How quickly can we improve it? Apple chased belief. Samsung chased certainty. One wanted followers, the other wanted control, and history was about to force them into the same arena. Samsung did not hesitate. When smartphones began to emerge, Samsung didn't wait for perfection. It released, then revised, then released again. Mistakes were acceptable, as long as they were corrected faster than competitors. Samsung didn't ask users to love its products. It asked them to accept them, because availability creates habit, and habit, over time, feels like loyalty. While others debated identity, Samsung flooded the market. Different sizes, different prices, different markets. Not beautiful, not poetic, but everywhere. Apple watched carefully. It didn't panic. It didn't rush. Because Apple believed something Samsung did not. That people don't choose with logic. They choose with identity. Apple released fewer products, slower, more controlled. Each launch felt intentional. Each device felt chosen. Samsung responded the only way it knew how. More factories, more engineers, more pressure. This wasn't competition anymore. This was philosophy versus philosophy. Then came the lawsuits, design similarities, patent wars, courtrooms filled with diagrams and egos. To the public, this looked like corporate drama, but underneath, something deeper was happening. Samsung wasn't just defending products, it was defending its right to move fast, to copy, to adapt. In Samsung's world, nothing belonged to anyone for long. If something worked, it was meant to be improved and scaled. Apple called this theft. Samsung called it survival. While the world argued about originality, Samsung quietly built something far more powerful: control over components, screens, memory, processors. Even Apple, the company Samsung fought most fiercely, relied on Samsung's factories. This wasn't irony, it was strategy. Samsung didn't just want to compete in the market, it wanted to own the supply chain. Because when you control the parts, you influence the future. Design inspires, infrastructure decides. But this level of dominance came with pressure. Inside Samsung, the system demanded absolute loyalty. Long hours were normal. Burnout was expected. Questioning was discouraged. Creativity was welcomed, only after obedience. The machine didn't care who you were, only how fast you moved. And slowly, the company began winning on the outside, while tension grew within. Samsung had become unstoppable, faster than Apple, larger than most nations, embedded into the global economy. But power built on pressure always asks the same question: how long can discipline hold before something breaks? Because when obedience replaces meaning, success starts to feel heavy. And in the shadows of Samsung's rise, the cost of perfection was about to surface. At its peak, Samsung looked unbeatable. Revenue soared, market share expanded, factories never slept. From the outside, this was the picture of success. But inside, something was changing. Because when a system is built to never lose, it forgets how to rest. And people are not designed to live inside machines forever. Samsung didn't motivate with inspiration, it motivated with expectation. Deadlines weren't suggestions, targets weren't flexible. Failure wasn't educational, it was personal. Managers pushed harder because they were pushed harder. engineers stayed later because leaving early meant being remembered. This wasn't cruelty. It was culture. A culture where fear was quietly repackaged as responsibility. Stories began to surface. Burnout that didn't heal. Health problems that didn't stop production. Lives reduced to output. Some employees spoke, many didn't. Because when your identity is tied to performance, silence feels safer than honesty. Samsung didn't deny the pressure. It normalized it. Because the machine was working. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Samsung didn't invent harsh work culture. It perfected it, and the world rewarded them for it. Consumers enjoyed better screens, faster chips, cheaper devices. Investors celebrated efficiency, governments celebrated exports, and very few people asked who was absorbing the pressure. Because the benefits were visible, the cost was hidden. As Samsung grew, decisions became distant. Human consequences were reduced to statistics. One department adjusted targets, another optimized schedules. No single person felt responsible. That's the danger of scale. When responsibility is shared, accountability disappears. And when accountability disappears, systems continue, even when they hurt. Samsung wasn't just a company anymore. It influenced national policy, employment rates, entire supply chains. In Korea, Samsung didn't just shape the economy, it was the economy. And when a company becomes too large to fail, it also becomes too large to question. Power, at this level, doesn't need approval. It only needs momentum. So the question lingered. If Samsung stopped pushing, would everything collapse? Had discipline become dependency? Was the empire strong because of pressure or trapped by it? These weren't questions for headlines. They were questions whispered inside conference rooms. Samsung had reached a point few companies ever do. It had everything: scale, speed, dominance. But it lacked something else: a face, a story people could love. And in a world slowly shifting toward meaning over machinery, Samsung was about to face its greatest test. Because the future doesn't reward power alone, it rewards trust. By the time the world began questioning power, Samsung had already moved past visibility. It no longer needed applause. It no longer needed love. Its screens were everywhere. Its chips lived inside devices that never carried its name. Samsung wasn't competing for attention anymore. It was shaping reality from underneath it. And the most powerful systems in history have always preferred to stay unseen. While others built personalities, Samsung built infrastructure. It didn't ask you to believe. It asked you to depend. Phones could be replaced. Brands could be forgotten. But components? Components decide who survives when trends disappear. Samsung understood something deeply unsettling. If you control what everything runs on, you don't need permission to lead. But the world doesn't stand still. Technology is no longer just functional. It's emotional, political, personal. People don't just ask what a company makes anymore. They ask what it stands for. And this is where Samsung's discipline meets a new kind of challenge, because systems built on obedience struggle in eras built on voice. Efficiency wins markets, but meaning wins loyalty. Samsung has begun to change, not loudly, not dramatically, but carefully. More openness, more design language, more storytelling. Yet the question remains: can a company trained to suppress emotion learn to express it? Can an empire built on silence learn to listen? Or does power, once achieved through pressure, always return to it? Samsung's legacy is not innovation, it is endurance. It proved that discipline can outlast inspiration, that scale can overpower elegance, that survival, when perfected, can look like dominance. But endurance is not destiny. Every empire eventually faces a moment where strength alone is no longer enough. That moment doesn't announce itself. It arrives quietly, like doubt. Every empire begins with fear. Fear of being erased. Fear of being dependent. Fear of going back to nothing. Samsung never forgot that fear. It organized it, optimized it, industrialized it, and in doing so, it became one of the most powerful forces the modern world has ever known. But power built on survival always carries a question inside it. What happens when there is nothing left to run from? Samsung does not ask you to love it. It doesn't need to. It lives inside your world quietly, efficiently, relentlessly. And perhaps that is its greatest achievement, because the next great empire may not look like a brand at all. It may already be inside your hands, watching, learning, waiting.